Vincent, how is all this going to play out back at home when Theresa May comes back?
Good morning, Belle. Well, this is being called Brextra time in the front pages of the newspapers this morning here. And I don't think it's going to play out very well from the initial reaction we've seen overnight. Now, one of her MPs, Nick Bowles, has tweeted saying, so the government is going to propose a €17 billion extension to the transition, but refuses $2 billion to bail out universal credit. Good luck for that. He's highlighting the fact that this will actually cost the UK a few billion more euros to stay in for this extra negotiating time, when she's got real problems here with the domestic policy as well. Another MP, quite a strong Brexiteer, Nadine Dorries, has tweeted calling for the Prime Minister to go, saying that David Davis needs to take over this and that the transition period will not be allowed. And then the likes of Nigel Farage also highlighting the extension transition period takes us to the next election, which may well mean that we never leave. And that's something to highlight here, is that at the moment the transition period ends at the end of 2020. Another year would take it to the end of 2021. And the UK has to have another general election in 2022 because of the way our Fixed Term Parliament Act works. So I think there is going to be a fear among Brexiteers that taking it all the way, any kind of extension to the election, could lead to Brexit not actually happening, because there would be a build-up perhaps in the second referendum, the People's Vote movement. They're having a huge march here in London this weekend, and they'll be worried that an extra time, extra delay just might cause Brexit not to happen.
At least 19 people have been killed and dozens more injured in a shooting at a technical college in Russian-annexed Crimea. The attack was carried out by an 18-year-old student in the city of Kerch. The motive is still unclear. Hermione G has the latest.
United in grief, people paid their respects to the victims at memorials across Russia and Ukraine. The tragedy hit close to home in the city of Simferopol, which shares the Crimean Peninsula with Kerch, where the shooting took place.
Innocent people are killed, and we have to keep their memory.
Russian authorities at first feared the attack was the work of terrorists, but now say they've identified a lone assailant. He's been named as 18-year-old college student Vladislav Roslyakov. Witnesses said the attack started with an explosion followed by more blasts and a hail of gunfire. At least 19 people died and dozens of others were wounded before Roslyakov turned the gun on himself. Many of the victims were teenage students who suffered shrapnel and bullet wounds. There were no immediate clues as to Roslyakov's motive, but a friend told local media he hated the college and wanted revenge on the teachers. Russia annexed Crimea from Ukraine in 2014, prompting international condemnation and sanctions. Now the investigation into the Kerch shooting looks set to reopen the wound. Ukraine's president said his country should have jurisdiction.
Why is it so important to us? Because these are Ukrainian citizens, and when Ukrainian citizens are killed, wherever it happens, it's a tragedy.
But Moscow sees the incident as a Russian loss, thanking other countries for expressing their sympathy.
In these tragic minutes, we are grateful for the sincere words and condolences and the support that we receive.
For the residents of Kerch waiting at the hospital for news of their loved ones, it's probably an argument that can wait. Hermione G for Euronews.
If it exists, hand it over. That's Donald Trump's call to Turkish authorities following reports they're in possession of an audio recording which proves that journalist Jamal Khashoggi was killed inside the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. The US president told reporters in the Oval Office that he'd be talking to the Secretary of State Mike Pompeo about the alleged recording when Trump gets a debriefing from Pompeo on his return from a fact-finding mission to Turkey.
We have asked for it if it exists. We have asked for it. Yeah.
But you haven't got.
We've asked for it if it exists.
Are you surprised that they haven't turned it over? Or?
No, I'm not sure yet that it exists. Probably does, possibly does. I'll have a full report on that from Mike when he comes back.
Mr. President.
That's one of the things I That's going to be the first question I ask.
Well, meanwhile, investigations into the disappearance are pointing to ties between an alleged Saudi hit squad that was sent to Istanbul and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. NBC's Bill Neely has the details.
Turkish forensic experts searching for hours at the home of a Saudi diplomat, using ultraviolet light to detect bloodstains, to see if the body of missing journalist Jamal Khashoggi was brought here. Turkey leaked gruesome details of what it says was his fate to local media. Brutally killed, it claims, by a Saudi hit squad. Turkish officials provided NBC News with passport scans of 7 of them. The New York Times identifying Maher Mutreb as a close aide to Saudi Arabia's powerful crown prince. This close, at his side on visits to the US and Europe. It says 3 other suspects are also linked to the prince. The Turks will use the evidence they gather here and any links between the alleged hit squad and the Saudi crown prince to try to weaken him. They want to pile the pressure on their Middle East rival. Turkey, though, still hasn't made public the audio evidence from inside the consulate it says proves the journalist was killed here. Bill Neely, NBC News, Istanbul.
Well, let's get some more on this. And to do that, I'm joined from Istanbul by journalist Christina Jovanovski. Good morning, Christina. We saw there in Bill Neely's report links between the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and potentially the disappearance of Jamal Khashoggi. If those links do prove to have some veracity, what are the consequences?
There could be major consequences for the relationship between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia. Importantly, today, the New York Times came out with a report claiming that intelligence officials from the U.S. believe that there is a link between the Crown Prince and the disappearance and alleged killing of this journalist. Crucially, though, they do not have direct evidence, but they have circumstantial evidence of the Crown Prince's links, including that his security guards are believed to have been involved. As well, importantly, they're not clear about whether or not the Crown Prince would have ordered the alleged disappearance or the alleged killing of this journalist, or whether he was planning on having an abduction. For the U.S., there would be major consequences. It could hurt the relationship. Saudi Arabia is a major supplier of oil. As well, the U.S. gets a lot of money from Saudi Arabia through arms deals. That's something the U.S. president has mentioned. So if they blame the Crown Prince for this, it would really hurt the relationship. And right. So we're going to have to really look at that.